Hello and welcome to Blue Girls Video Podcast. Good afternoon. I'm gonna have dreams for you. I just kind of woke up a little bit ago, kind of a late sleeper. I'm gonna have dreams. I'm gonna continue with August 2020. I think that might be all I can get in for the rest for today. So the first one is going to be oldest brother. A guy who physically resembles my oldest brother with his hair feathered like he had it in the 1970s, deceased. So he was living in a one-bedroom apartment, and all he had in his room was a twin icky mattress. I guess he would lie in bed most of the day, and a woman wanted to get him outside more, and then I have 1,000 after that. Unbalanced. This is an odd dream. There is this young 20-something man with brown hair and brown eyes who keeps repeating showing up at an acquaintance's house while they are out of town. A woman who is staying at the house talks to the neighbors about it and calls some detectives, not the police. That's kind of strange. They come to the house. I think they are more concerned about his mental health than physically harming someone. He either physically or mentally is like his father, so I take it that to mean that he looks and mental illness runs on his father's side of the family. Suffering, Poland. Secret. I don't remember much about this dream. There were 3 young women who might have just gotten out of jail. It seemed like they hadn't seen each other in a long time. They were all sexually romantic with each other. Then there was another older Mexican guy who had some information on them, which he was trying to find. Okay, so the next dream is going to be trip with friends. A young woman is at her grandma's and dad's house with 2 other female friends. She wants to travel somewhere with them, but for some reason they seem stuck there or taking their time. The young woman seems to be having a hard time trying to access a bus website. She tries different devices. Then she was thinking about booking an online flight with points and calls the airline. But for whatever reason, it didn't pan out. She tells her friends about staying at Go Today or an Airbnb, not sure. Then I remember the woman waiting at a drop-in center. A woman there gave her 2 masks. Both were white with a design. One was a ladybug, and not sure of the other one. The woman thought she was in Wisconsin, but she was in Minnesota. I remember some homeless-looking people showing up. I can see an old computer that she tries to access, but then there was an earthquake. Okay, well, there wouldn't be an earthquake in Minnesota or Wisconsin. So anyway, really sick. In real life, I have been feeling kind of sick in regards to my heart. So when I fell asleep, I had a dream that I was really sick and having trouble breathing. I might have been on a gurney and recall seeing a young guy with dark eyes and frizzy hair. He wasn't wearing a mask or anything on his bed, so maybe it wasn't at a hospital. I remember thinking that I'm not going to make it to age 30, to age 60. Then the dream changed. And the reason why I said that is because both of my parents, they didn't really take care of their bodies. They weren't really educated or anything. And they both passed away at age 61. So my father almost made it to 62. But my grandparents lived longer. I think my grandma was like 83 and my grandpa was like, I don't know how old he was, but he was a Marine, so the rest of this is, then the dream changed and I was at this retail store either working there or as a customer. I saw these really cool yellowish pants with some sort of design, something that would never wear in real life. Then I recall seeing an old high school friend that once went camping with as a teenager. Okay. She was still overweight and was with two of her friends. K. Not for me. There was a group of people, possibly a Satanist group, not sure. They didn't grow up going to church. They don't know God. And some may not even believed in a God exists. Well, that would be an atheist. But anyway, they were bad people doing their own thing and not caring about the consequences of their actions. One guy was hanging out in his neighborhood by riding around on his bike. Then this one young woman attended one of their meetings. I'm not for sure what they talked about, but the woman felt that the group wasn't for her. At nighttime, I see her excited, exiting a chained up gate. This is exciting. Abusive husband. I was at this place that was quite busy. A lot of people around in building. I witnessed a husband being verbally abusive towards his wife and thought she was in danger. They also had two children, a boy and a girl. I had a feeling that this abusive behavior was typical between the two. The husband left somewhere and the wife went somewhere else and saw her later in the evening. So all that was left in the building were the children. I called the cop and was talking to a female officer about it. She wanted to keep me on the phone, but I told her how the husband and wife left, so the cops didn't come to the building. So the next dream is going to be dressing room. There was a woman who was in a dressing room with doors like in a saloon, so people could see part of her upper body as she changed, but the woman didn't know that. Then there was a group of people in a small room, mostly middle-aged, overweight women. I was there and wanted to get to a certain destination. I was trying to find a bus route. I was a little upset with the woman because they didn't seem to care if I got to the destination or not. Rain stick. I had several dreams last night. Something strange but interesting happened too. To help me fall asleep, I bought a white noise machine and was listening to the rain stick sound. So when I fell asleep, I could only hear sounds in my dreams, no visions. I heard a group of several professional women, mainly African American women, talking to each other at a meeting, but could not remember what they were saying because their voices were overlapping. I woke up shortly after this. I fell back asleep and both my hearing and vision had returned. A group of guys who were exploring these islands. Some of the islands could only get there by boat. The islands took a look were south of a mainland, not sure location of island. Then a young female college student is in her classroom with high up table and chairs, almost like an art classroom, and no one is wearing masks. Then I recall a woman having her bagged items lined up at a bus station as she waited for a bus. Fell back asleep again. I was waiting outside at a bus shelter for the earliest bus to arrive. It was still dark outside and there was an overweight, possibly Mexican or Hispanic man waiting for the bus too. He was a little upset with me because I didn't know the exact time the bus would arrive. Then he showed me possibly a map of either an island or a science museum. He showed me the areas of where the jellyfishes would be located. Later in the evening, I am remembering more. I questioned if the jellyfish might actually be an X-ray or sonogram, where there are white areas, jellyfish not sure. The jellyfish white areas seem to be on two different areas, an upper and lower on the right side of a coast body. I also see a doctor performing a surgery. I see a ball. Giggly girls. A guy was either sleeping in his bed or at a bed and breakfast. He was an older guy. He was an older, old school guy who had his personal items scattered across the room. He liked to wear pants with a brown belt and a silver buckle. Later in the morning, these two giggly girls were walking around their house, and one of the girls showed the other girl a map of something. I'm guessing the guy could have been one or both of the girls' father. However, I don't see them interacting with him. Virtual theater. My mom and my brother and I went to a play thinking we were going to see live actors, but when we arrived at the theater, we were the only ones there, and there were live actors behind the scenes. However, we were watching it through an old-fashioned TV that was in one of the rooms. When I went to the counter, the play was a whopping $97 and was comparing it to a cost of play in New York. My mom paid for herself, and I was debating on whether to pay or not, but did it because it was the right thing to do. I tried to get $20 from my brother, but he wasn't paying because he didn't have any money as usual. I recall the people working at the counter being able to hear everything that was said between me and my family. For whatever reason, we spent the night at the theater because I remember waking up in the room the next day. Also, there was this one crazed woman working at the theater. She was walking around saying mean and hateful things to her coworkers and family. She meant what she said. So Jillian, I had two dreams. One of the actress Gillian Anderson and her friend who was sitting across from her. Jillian was supporting her friend's singing career. Her friend didn't have much faith in herself. I fell back asleep and had a dream that spent the night at a hospital. For some reason, I was walking around with one of those hospital robes. My twin cousins from Colorado were on different floors, and recall seeing my cousin Dee on the main floor. I don't recall seeing any tests being done on me. I also recall my passport being pinned to the white bedding of the bed. That's kind of weird. I woke the next morning thinking, oh, I'm still here. Also, remember socializing with another female patient. She was bedridden, and she asked me a favor to get her some food at the cafeteria. I felt like she was taking advantage of me, but since I had time, I helped her anyway. Townhomes. I was at a townhome that reminded me of a childhood place that I grew up. The people who lived there were throwing a small party. I can see a woman in the dream decorating a patio in the backyard, decorating the patio table and bringing some booze there too. Also, there was an overweight Mexican guy who was standing in his kitchen, same guy from previous dream, and two Caucasian boys were in the townhouse as well. One had a driver's permit and was only allowed to drive on the back roads. The other boy had fine blonde hair, semi-long. I remember telling someone that even my brothers don't know my birthday, which one in real life probably doesn't know. As of September 6, 2020, in my real life, I heard from both a Jillian and Justin. Okay, so now we are in September 2020. Amnesia. A woman was entering people's room and breaking some of their items. People wanted to be reimbursed. It was small amounts. However, the woman doesn't remember breaking any items. So someone recommended to go see a doctor. Okay, the next dream is Tran. I don't remember much of this dream. There was a beautiful woman with dark brown hair that was sitting in a room with another woman who was talking about her brother and was using the F word a lot when she spoke. Then I saw a picture of this beautiful woman alongside another picture of maybe the woman's brother. He looked a little bit like Justin Bieber. He had bleached hair a little longer than Justin's and wavy. September 1st, 2020, female voice, Tran or Jan. Think Tran on or to the other side, across, beyond, translative, so as change or transfer. So that's like what I heard. Saw something wasn't supposed to see. This is September 1st, 2020. September 2nd, 2020. No dreams, but woke up thinking of my second brother, who also is the same name of someone I talked to at a medical office. September 6th, 2020. I was with mostly my mom and my youngest brother. Then I recall a woman making a video close to water. She was young, pretty, had short hair and blue eyes. Airbnb. I had a couple of dreams within the last couple of days. One was about a couple of Mexican men possibly renting out a room to a young Caucasian woman. The last night, A woman, possibly me, was waiting at a bus station to take a bus that would arrive at 3:15 a.m. I can see other people sitting around at the small bus station. She already has everything planned, her bus ticket, and will be staying at an Airbnb. She will take a taxi once she gets there because not for sure where Airbnb is located. She did not purchase a return trip ticket. At the Airbnb, a guy is handling her stay while the owner is away. There is some confusion on when she will be leaving early in the morning prior to the owners coming home. I see her looking at a bus ticket. She thought she would be leaving at about 5:15 a.m., but the owner will be coming back around 5:53 a.m. or so. Rocky Mountain National Park. This one young woman is in Colorado. I can see mountains that remind me of the Colorado Rockies. She is almost like riding in the car. She might be visiting her mom. A hearing. Oh, well, I have one on literally March 1st, 2023. A woman not for sure, and this is dated September 13, 2020. A woman not for sure if it was me or not. It was dropping off her library books in the outside drop box. An older Caucasian guy with white hair was working there at the time, and he was outside too, and kind of an acquaintance or a friend. He looked similar to an old guy that once was my neighbor many years ago. Later, there was a meeting or hearing which several minority women, a man and the woman's acquaintance and herself attended. It started out with this guy with dark wavy hair and dark eyes and medium colored skin asked this woman a question. Why did you take off your jacket? The woman had a jean jacket. She got defensive and said, because I was hot. So then after the woman wanted everyone to stay and be a witness at the meeting, the woman was sitting next to the same old guy, and she had a huge purse to the left of her underneath the table. Later, the old guy was complaining about a fancy dinner he attended and how they just had regular bottled water and should have had a different brand. Also, the woman then went to some art festival and had a handful of pencils, and she chose a pink-colored one. Okay. Waking me up. I have shared that I have heard a hissing sound while in my bed for a while now. It happened again on the 14th or 15th. So yesterday in the morning, I felt a small dog jump on the bed and start walking around on it. I told the dog, I'm trying to sleep here. Then the next day I was awoken again, and this time at 4:40 a.m., this time by a presence making an indent first in the middle of the bed, then in the four corners, and then I told the presence I'm getting a priest. So then another indent appeared next to me. The shit did occur in real life, and I'm not making any of this up. Whatever this is, it followed me from the last apartment in the same city. I would hear a growling sound instead of a hissing sound. I then would move my bed away from one of the walls. I'm not for sure why it was growling sound and then switched to a hissing sound here. Took a nap, going swimming. I went to my friend's place and his girlfriend's place, and they were living in a different apartment. I was staying there and went swimming at a pool, possibly a community pool like the YMCA. The pool was packed and a lot of people were swimming in it, so it seemed more like a pool party. After the dream, I was surprised that I was there swimming because I stayed one night at a hotel with a swimming pool and had to sign a waiver due to the coronavirus, so I wouldn't go swimming with that many people swimming in it. Then earlier in dream, I cannot remember much of the dream, but I was sitting outside with some guy on a bench like waiting for a bus. Then the next day, a couple of women were helping me take buses there with an area with a lot of buses and wasn't for sure which one to take, but some women were helping me. I seemed to be taking a lot of buses too. Area not familiar. Small foreign town. Okay. I remember being at an older woman's house, possibly a bed and breakfast in a small foreign town. There were a couple of women staying there. The owner made one of the girls a nice and tasty sandwich, so I wanted one too. Then I was walking outside with another girl who was going to some college, cannot remember the name. Later at night, the owner, her son, and myself were in her living room. There was a floor lamp on, and I had a small backpack and was looking for my bus ticket. It said 9 something. I had lost track of time and missed my bus. I was staying somewhere else because I paid for it. I got upset with the owner because I think I have missed my bus. I felt bad when I awoke because she was a nice older woman and it really wasn't her fault. So back to the dream. I guess I had to walk closer to the water was a couple of blocks away, not familiar at all. I remember seeing some buildings but cannot remember, and to my right was some mountains. Hipster's life. This dream that I'm going to tell you could be out east, possibly New York or Florida, a fast-paced environment. This young girl was hanging out at possibly a church or someplace that helps people. She met an older guy there who let her use his shower. He tried to take advantage of her, and so she did not return to the church. Some people from the church returned her backpack. Then she was at some party and walking around in the kitchen when she received an incoming video call. She was telling her friend about the old guy taking advantage of her. There was a lot of people at the house party. Then this other woman is walking around another busy area with a lot of people when she was looking for a restroom. Later she goes back to her female dorm room and other roommates are there. Later, I see a high-fashion woman with dark eyes and hair, possibly Jewish. She is wearing a heavy, dark brown fur coat. This young woman is there, too. She might be waiting for some guy to come out for his apartment. Killer. I really didn't feel like documenting this dream because I don't remember much. Anyway, there was this young, blonde-haired woman that lived directly underneath this woman in a small apartment complex. She looks similar to the woman that I used to dream about while living in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, the woman who lived above the woman knew that the young blonde woman actually killed a bunch of people. Okay, she might have had some blood on her that this other woman witnessed. It didn't seem to bother the blonde woman that she killed people, and the other woman, well, she really didn't say much about it either. I think some cops were looking for the blonde, but neither of one of them seemed to care. Now, it could be symbolic because, I mean, what is the likelihood of a woman killing a bunch of people? A man, yes, but a woman? So it could be symbolic. Oldest niece. There were two women. The younger woman was romantically interested in the older woman, but the older woman didn't seem interested. The younger woman convinced the older woman to cuddle together at the older woman's place. Then another woman walked in on the two women shortly afterwards. Then I appeared in the dream. I was staying at possibly my older brother's place. It looked like him anyway. He had two different properties that he was paying. His new home was nicer than the other one, which I had been to in real life. I don't remember communicating with him at all in this dream. Then his daughter, my oldest niece, who I have not seen in a long time, came to visit me at his place. This part of the dream is kind of confusing, but I think she brought up the two women getting caught cuddling or something that another niece had said about me. Well, that wasn't true. Either way, I didn't think it was my fault. I remember starting to cry, telling my niece that I haven't been around in real life. Keep in mind this is a dream. In real life, been living elsewhere than home state, but that I was a good aunt to her, which I was in real life. That's true. I started crying and told her that I would get her and my other niece out of the house because her parents were constantly arguing. Now that is true. When I'm writing, I remember starting to cry. Yeah, my brother and his ex-wife used to constantly argue. I'm not saying it was physical or anything, but they were. And so I would get them out of the house, bring them to the lake, put them in a stroller or have them walk. So in real life, I would take them for a walk around the lake. Okay, one of the lakes. Okay, so that's it, and thank you for watching. I'm a little groggy today. It snowed here. I think there's a record snow. So anyway, thank you for watching.